So good morning, Ray. Let's give us a little bit of information about your background and just general about your farm.
My name is Ray Tyler, and I, along with my wife, we manage a 1 acre market farm here in West Tennessee in a small town called Selmer, about 2 or 3 thousand people. We did not come from a farming background, and so I think, with a lot of farmers like ourselves, are really just trying to figure out how to position ourselves in a marketplace, plus learn how to grow all these things in whatever challenging environment that we're in. And so, we're just in this really exciting time where I think the local food scene is more vibrant than ever. But at the same time, with the environment changing and the different challenges that it presents, we're growing greens, baby root crops year round, along with a lot of your classic vegetables in the summer, things like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, squashes, all that stuff. It makes for a very exciting and challenging occupation.
Very cool. And Ray, what's the overview of your sales channels for your products?
Yep. So currently, we sell to chefs, we sell to food hubs, grocery stores. We have a seasonal CSA sometimes. We did not do one this past year. We do 2 farmers markets, and we have a online shopping store via Shopify. We're experimenting with some other different platforms, but and we've just started home deliveries as well. So that's kind of our main focus, which we're increasingly going more and more to grocery stores because it's a more stable and reliable form of sales.
Very cool. So let's talk to us about some greens. I mean, that's a key part of your marketing platform. Talk to us why
Yes.
greens are so attractive for farmers to get started with.
Yeah, well, I think one thing about greens is that it's a very short growing crop. And so from the time you seed to harvest to sales, that window is very, very short. So other than, like, let's say a crop like tomatoes, which can be 3 to 4 months from seed to harvest, depending on what variety and what time of the year you're growing, greens is very, very short. And so to get yourself in the marketplace and cash flow, which is key for any kind of business, I've just found that greens are one of the most practical and easiest way to get your foothold in your whatever marketplace that you're looking to get. Plus, again, like I said before, that early cash flow is so crucial for any kind of business.
So you've got cash flow. Now, the other thing
Yep.
is you can charge a premium for high quality greens. Talk to us about the quality that you can produce on a small farm.
Yes. So what we have found is that if you can manage small amounts of growing beds, and you can really manage the fertility, the weeds, the pest, really focus on crop care, and you have a superior product. So, for example, a lot of the clamshells that grocery store managers buy have a shelf life of 5 days. If you can come in with a product that will keep for 2 weeks, all of a sudden, you're bringing to the table a very valuable product that those produce managers need. Not only want, but they need something that will last longer than 4 to 5 days. I've even had some produce managers complain that a lot of the stuff that they get from California will last 3 days. And so when they're buying cases, and a customer is buying that lettuce, that clamshell, the greens, whatever product that may be, and then they take it to their home and it's only lasting a few days, that is not a situation that those produce managers want to be in. Mm-hmm. So what we found is that we can really leverage price, and not just local, because in our current West Tennessee, local is, they may want it, but it's not as trendy as the West, North, or East Coast. They're looking for, food that's on sale. And so, but at the same time, if that product will last longer, they're really more interested in quality than they are local. And so we've we kind of tried, leveraging local, and that it wasn't an effective way for us to sell, get new clients, and keep those clients. What positioned ourselves as a leader in West Tennessee for produce is the high quality product that we were able to provide by just focusing on, a small number of beds and really focusing on fertility, the weed, the pest management, timing, and number one that we all know is consistency. It's easy to have greens April, May, and the beginning of June. It's a completely another story to have that July, August, and September when every farm in the Mid-South is just being crushed. And that's where we've focused, is having consistent product 52 weeks a year, that those that are, sales outlet can rely on certain crops every single week. Mind you, we're not going to have that for tomatoes and peppers and other things, but everyone kind of knows that. But for us, we have 6 young children. I've got a very, very smart team that I want to keep year round. And because, if they're not going to work seasonally for us, there's no way I could keep them. And so for us, we've had to find a product that we could sell week after week. Bills come in 12 months out of the year. Employees need to get paid every week. And on a business level decision, it was, we needed a few products that can bring in reliable cash flow.
All right, so let's talk here too. Another reason for greens is just the amount of profit you can make off of them.
Yes, and I think obviously with any kind of vegetable or food, the more you can charge, then the more profit you can make. Have struggled in this place where my main markets is Memphis, Tennessee, and they're buying greens from California for $2 a pound. And at first sight, those growers in California do a terrific job. But the flavor may not be there, and the shelf life is definitely not there. So there are certain chefs who want quality, and they want to be able to hold a product for a week or two, depending on how their sales are, and then that product not go bad in their cooler. We're able to charge a lot more because we offer a 2-week guarantee or money back.
Yeah.
And I've had greens last in my cooler 4 weeks, 5, 6 weeks before it started actually melting and going bad. Where a lot of these greens that come from California, because of the amount of handling that product gets, it's only going to last 4 to 5 days.
Yeah.
And also, since we have diversified our market streams, which has been really important because, in our area, things are highly seasonal. So chefs have 2 peak times of the year, and the rest is very flat or just, almost non-existent for our products. And farmers market is obviously seasonal. That is, we've entered some good markets, but not every farmers market is good enough to rely on. The people out there, the people with money out there, lots of farmers market customers are looking for deals. We've been fortunate enough to be in some of our farmers market for the past 10 years where we have a very loyal customer base. But again, it's not enough volume to pay the kind of bills and the people that we need to keep our farm going year round. This is where, again, there's food hubs. That is seasonal again. Our online shopping store has been pretty solid and consistent for the most part, and grocery stores. So those 2 clients we've been able to kind of leverage, again, we've been able to charge a premium. Yeah. And it's really, really worked well. We have several different clients. So we have a wholesale client that will pay $4.75 a pound for salad mix, which is obviously not a lot. And so the margins are razor thin. And that works for us in the spring and fall when you can get 125 to 150 pounds per 100-foot bed. Depending on soil fertility, pests, weeds, there's a lot of factors that play in with getting a high yield per bed. And so, greens grow the fastest that time. So we do sell a lot at that price in those times of the year. But the other part of the seasons where it's difficult to grow, we're able to charge a lot more, between $8, $10, $12 a pound, depending on the client, how far we have to drive,
Yeah.
and how much they're buying as well.
Yeah. All right. So you said 100 to 125 pounds a bed at the minimum of
Yes.
475. So you're looking at least $500 to $600 per 100-pound or 100-foot bed
That's right.
in 4 to 5 weeks.
That's right.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yep.
Okay. So that's the minimum.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
you go all
Yep.
the way
That's
up
the
to the maximum, which can be, $10 a pound to your farmer's
Yeah,
markets probably.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Which I think is probably the national average for farmers market, is probably the $10 a pound.
Yeah.
I've heard some farmers getting a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But I think, in rural area, rural America, where people are just trying to feed their families, that's probably a average price that you could expect to get from a farmer's market.
Yeah.
It's just the labor of being there and setting up. If you're not getting that price, it may not be worth growing that product for that marketplace.
Yeah. All right. So you said something really interesting. 475 per pound. You still can make money at that. How can you do that?
Well, I think by getting the yield
Yep.
to 125 to 150 pounds per bed. So
Yeah.
that only works at that number, which
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that you have to dial in to
Yeah.
get that pounds per bed, right?
Yeah.
In the summertime, when your yield, and it depends what kind of salad green you're growing. There's so many varieties out there.
Yeah.
So if you're growing Salanova, your yield's going to drop a lot further in the summertime. If you're doing All-Star, the most I've been able to get per pound with All-Star, salad mix is maybe 90 pounds.
Yeah.
So even at that 90 pounds, it's really not, you would have to have a lot of beds and maybe a tracker system to really make those numbers work. But if you're on a small scale, hand scale, 475 is tough to make a good profit anything less than 100 pounds per bed.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, Ray, is that you've got a team that has figured out how to flip and apply the amendments.
Oh, yeah.
So you just dialed
for sure.
everything else in.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of things that play into that. So I think if someone hears those two numbers, 150 pounds, 475, those are extreme numbers on both ends. But our context is, we have two very trained people who knows how to produce from seed to store, right?
Yeah.
And so they're very efficient. They're very fast. Two people can seed, plant, manage, harvest, package. Maybe not package. I bring in my wife and her sister for that, but they can do everything else. And harvest, seed, plant, all about $10,000 a week in products in peak season.
Yeah.
And it takes very trained people who knows what they're doing. Their systems in place. We have SOPs. I mean, everything is very dialed in. And then I come in to basically solve problems when the weather doesn't cooperate. There's always things. There's always problems.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having systems is very important, and having soil fertility dialed in is, I cannot stress enough that you can't just go out there, plant any seed, plant it any kind of spacing, and not pay attention to your soil and expect to get any kind of high quality, high yielding product. In my experience, it hasn't been possible. Maybe accidentally someone could get away with it, but a consistent farm needs to have a process dialed in. And the thing with that is that you have to be willing to change your system and your process on a dime, because people change, customers change, the weather changes. Nothing ever goes as planned. You want to set up your whole system for optimum performance, but understand that you're going to have to change things fast. You know, a good example is this year, a certain lettuce variety that we count on heavily, the seed strain changed. It wasn't just on my farm. I talked to a lot of farmers, and so we had to supplement very quickly this certain variety that we really counted on, which is why we do so many trials each year, because nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
People aren't guaranteed, weather's not guaranteed, seed varieties aren't guaranteed, and your customer base is not guaranteed. And so, but having enough systems for all those things set up in place really can set you up for the to be the most successful that you can possibly be. And that's what this is all about, is getting enough things set up to hedge your bets. I tell a lot of my non-farmer friends who have no clue what farming is like.
Yeah.
And I often consider it to, I've never been to a casino, but I have friends who do. And I said, you're probably better off going to the casino and betting your money on that than just trying to farm without any kind of plan. Because it's just, you really need to have, you know, whether it be mentors, you know, getting that a solid base of education on how to run a business, grow crops, deal with customer sales, employees. There's so many things that go on that you can't just hope and pray it's all going to work out. There's so many things that is unpredictable and uncontrollable that a lot of this comes down to having the most systems that you can control, which brings in tunnels.
Yeah.
So for us, I would say up to about 3 years ago, we could grow a lot of our greens outside from, I would say, April till the end of November.
Yeah.
Fairly easy. Yes, it was hot. But, you know, we didn't have a lot of rain. And when we did, it came, it went, it dried up, and we had to rely a lot on water. But the past 2 or 3 summers, we've had just record poundings of rain, moisture never dries out. And we've been forced to not only use our tunnels that we use for winter, but use those for our summer production as well. And when it comes to greens in particular, especially if you're doing things like direct seeded greens, any of those kind of things, if you direct seed, let's just say arugula or radishes or any of those tender green crops, and you get a 3-inch rain in 30 minutes, those seeds will be gone unless your soil is sandy and the water can drain. But if you're on heavy soil, let's say it doesn't perk very well, it's going to destroy anything that you just seeded. And on the flip side, let's just say if you do have a nice looking crop and it's looking good, that rain can just absolutely bruise and destroy and get that crop very, very dirty, forcing you to do a lot of product handling, which decreases the shelf life. So what we have found for us, at least in our climate, is that growing all greens and baby root crops in tunnels hedges our bets and makes for the most consistent, high quality product that we can produce. So not only is it important to have tunnels in the wintertime, you know, this is we're doing this recording in the middle of November. Yesterday morning, it said that it felt like 7 degrees, which feels like January. This is very, very rare. We were able to get enough tunnels up. We have about 20 of them, and you know, in the tunnels, under row cover, it was 30 degrees. So those things, you know, we can grow celery, we can grow dandelion, kale, collards, chard, carrots, radishes, turnips, greens, salad mix, all these crops, you know, herbs, all these things that really do well sales wise in the wintertime because no one else has it.
Yeah.
So the thing that tunnels provide is a security and protection for these investments that we're all as farmers making on a daily basis. We're investing time, money, resources, and, you know, we're all taking a risk, hoping that what we plant, what we seed will be a healthy, sellable product. Then we hope that our customers will be there to buy it. So there's so many things that we're planting in faith. And tunnels just adds that solid security of, for us, it's not a guarantee. Nothing is guaranteed, but it's a 90% higher chance that crop that we seed or plant will grow to a high enough quality product that can sell.
Yeah. And let's just do the basic math here is that a tunnel costs maybe $1,500 or $1,800 and you have 400-foot beds inside that. Each 100-foot bed is maybe worth $1,000 in the wintertime.
Yep.
So that's $4,000, $1,800 for protection. You've made money the first year.
You made money. Yeah. And if you're further up north, I would say you probably should consider a high tunnel, heavier tubing, bigger structure. The bigger your structure, the more heat it's going to lock in. I mean, we just put up a pretty big greenhouse and very, very large capacity of air that it holds, and that holds a lot more heat during the nighttime than even our small Caterpillar tunnels have.
Yeah.
So if you're further up north, I would say, maybe high tunnels. It's by far the easiest to maintain, no doubt, as you've had way more experience with that than I have. But the thing with Caterpillar tunnels is that on the front end, it's a easier investment to make when you're trying to keep all your other spinning plates going. Yeah. It's this one piece of infrastructure that will help you double, if not triple, your money the first year. So it's a no-brainer. Obviously, it does come a point of how much cash do you have available, right? So that's obviously a challenging thing that you have to figure out. There's lots of ways to go about getting capital. But if you can acquire that capital, plant that crop, it's going to more than double to pay for itself, depending obviously on what crop and how you plant it. If you're just doing 4 rows, 3 or 4 feet apart, it's going to be tough. But if you can really put it in there, get your soil fertility dialed in, get your irrigation set up, and get your crop timing, right. That's, as we both know, growing in the wintertime, the most challenging thing is getting your crop seeded and planted early enough where it's ready to harvest by this time of the year.
Mm-hmm. So let's dial in on that a little bit. So you said getting the planting right. How many different plantings are you doing a year?
Well, I mean, we aim for, a harvest once a week, 52 weeks a year. So we're doing 52 plantings a year is what we're doing. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But you're you're spacing those a little bit differently depending on the season.
Yes, which is a really key to think about. And this is going to vary, not only to your day length in the wintertime, but also how warm your temperatures are. So here's just a small fact that we found. Lettuce will grow under 10 hours of daylight a day if the temperature is above 45 degrees. Right? So those two things. So the warmer your temperatures are, you could have more growth at 10 hours than, let's just say, a farm that has 11 hours, but it's, 30 degrees. So understanding your climate, what is your nighttime low, your daytime highs, knowing your day length, all those things, it's fairly complex where you are. But the general principle is that going in the wintertime, understanding that crops in general grow very, very, very slowly. Mm-hmm. So by the time you have 10 hours of day length, you need to have the majority of your winter crop in the ground ready to harvest for the most part. Lettuce, we like to have it a little staggered because if it's all mature, in our experience, that this is the coldest November I've experienced since I've been farming. But last year, January was the warmest January I ever remember. So many days were in the 50s and 60s that things grew very, very fast. So the way I like to do it is I like to have a lot of small space seeding dates, right? Maybe a big seeding date every day apart in September. Mm-hmm. And then in October, those will be planted at maybe it's every 2 days apart, or a big block every 5 days apart. It kind of depending exactly what I'm kind of aiming for. But the thing you have to really understand is that when it's hot in September and the days are a lot longer and it's warmer, you have to understand that, in a month or two, things are going to change rapidly and things are just going to stop growing. So if you want to have product year round, what I encourage a lot of farmers is either, I have a template which I've actually changed a lot in the past 2 years because based off of our growing experience, but having some kind of plan, whether you get it from a book, a fellow farmer, you can get it from my course, whoever you're around, having some kind of basic plan and stick with that and keep very, very good notes. And most of the time it's going to take a farmer, because every climate is so different, it'll probably take you, I would say, 3 to 5 years to really dial in whatever product you want to have 52 weeks a year. So that whether that's arugula or radishes or kale, maybe not kale, but any kind of quick growing crop, lettuce especially, then having a plan, sticking with it, keeping very, very detailed notes, and then just make changes each year accordingly, keeping track of how was the weather. Was it unusually warm? So maybe things grew a lot faster. Maybe it was unusually cold, and so things were a lot slower, keeping track. I like to have a lot more days than necessary because the weather is so unpredictable. And so you can do a lot more plantings at one time. I like to space them out just because the weather's so unpredictable and it gives me a little bit more security. But that's just based off my weather patterns and my experience. One thing about growing in the wintertime is if you have all this product ready to harvest and it's hot, you're growing in tunnels, and if you don't have proper ventilation, disease will just completely ravage a lot of lettuce. You'll get bottom rot, sclerotinia. You can even get some fusarium wilt if you're more out west. And so those things, if you have a lot of big heads and not a lot of airflow, you can lose a lot of those lettuces, which is why I like to have a lot more smaller plantings and just let things slowly mature rather than having 25 beds ready for harvest on Christmas Day. So that's my approach. One thing that I practice too on this farm is crop steering. And so that is where I can use tunnels and row covers to heat or let things cool off depending on what stage it's at, right? So let's just say if it's in the wintertime, and normally I would keep things covered, but it's been a very warm December. I mean, 3-4 years ago, we had a December where almost every day was in the 70s.
Oh my gosh.
And things just grew. Things that I wanted to have in February bolted, which is too hot.
Yeah.
But my mistake, several years ago was I had a lot of things under row cover at nighttime. I should have just left it off completely, and those nighttime low temperatures would have helped stunted the growth. So, this is a lot of information, and it's all subject to your climate. But these are all tools just to help. Again, it's all about using different techniques to have consistent product for consistent sales, because cash flow is the lifeblood of any business, and you have to have consistent checks coming in every single week. And having these systems in place to hedge your bets, to protect these investments, will help make farming more stable and a lot more enjoyable business to actually be in, and to help you profitable and to grow and thrive, which is ultimately every farmer's goal.
Absolutely. So Ray, talk to us through the different greens. You're doing spinach, you're doing arugula, you're doing direct seeded salad, you're doing salanovas, you're doing a bunch of head lettuces. Anything else? Herbs?
Yes. So we're actually getting into a lot more herbs. The past, every year when I meet with chefs or clients, I always ask them, hey, what is a product that you feel like would be that you would like to see us grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of us growing crops and forcing our customers to buy this, I think it's a smart idea to once a year take time to sit with whatever clients you have and ask them what would they like to see, right? So obviously, there's product we cannot grow. We're not going to grow bananas or those kind of things.
Yeah.
But the past 3 years, I've been asked more and more, hey, herbs really cost us a lot of money. We go through a lot of them. We would love to have local herbs, the flavor, the aroma, everything about it, we would really like to have. So we've been growing a lot more. Right now, we have a lot of cilantro and parsley.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found is that is a product that we can have year round as well. And there's ways to have parsley and cilantro in the summertime. It's more trickier than lettuce, but once you kind of get a few things dialed in, it's one of those things. Again, having consistent clients and consistent cash flow really helps your bottom line. So right now we have a lot of herbs, mainly cilantro and parsley as far as bulk. And of course, spinach is a big one, but it's probably big for any kind of farm. Having spinach is really important. It thrives in the wintertime. We don't really have to cover it. We protect it from rain just to keep the leaves clean, because it allows us to handle the spinach less breakage and bruising. But I mean, we don't hardly ever have to cover it at all. It'll go down to 0 degrees and still. I have yet to lose spinach from a cold night.
Wow.
So yeah, and then there's arugula, there's baby kale, there's chard, winter chard. There's nothing like it. We're doing a lot of dandelion. So right now there's a kind of this new wave. I'm always paying attention to. I have a lot of really close high-end chefs. They don't buy a lot from me, but they're really knowledgeable in the space of like trends, or I go to the Franklin Farmers Market and there's a lot of bloggers and chefs out there who ask for different things, and so we'll experiment with different crops, and dandelion has really taken off. One thing about dandelion is that we can grow it year round. We have yet to find a pest that will eat dandelion,
Really?
which is very exciting.
Yes.
Except from deer, but other like we haven't found like aphids or any bugs on that dandelion so far. So that's been a really good popular product. It's obviously not as popular as kale or lettuce, but it's growing, and so it's one of those things that I see the more farmers can educate their customer base, that could be a really good profitable crop. The other thing would be celery. Having fresh, tender celery in the wintertime is, we've been growing it for 7-8 years now, and it's a fairly easy product once you get it to germinate. The germination on celery is tricky, but that's a really good product to have. What we found is by having our Shopify and Farmers Market, those customers, we had a hard time doing well just having greens. And I know some farmers do really well, but in our particular markets, they like to have variety. So the more variety we have on the stand, the more lettuce we will sell. And that's tricky. So you do have to manage a lot more variety. But it really helps. For me, we eat a lot of greens and lettuces and salads every day, but growing it, once you get it down, it's like you're ready for the next challenge. It's been really enjoyable to kind of focus on a lot of these different crops and adding a lot more variety to our offerings. So that's been really important to Farmers Market and our online store, because they don't want to just see lettuce. Like if they're gonna go to the market, buy from you, they want to have variety.
Yeah. You're saying you've got the lettuces, the spinach, the kales, the arugula.
Yep.
But you're adding to that things like the herbs and the cilantros and even the baby roots. But the core offering and the way you started with it was those greens, because those greens solid every single week. And then start stacking on the other things.
That's exactly. I mean, when I first started, what tipped me over the edge to make a decision is I visited a farm this time of the year in Kentucky when everything was brown and dead, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw beautiful Panacea and Skyphos, and I went, that is what I want to grow. And
Mm-hmm.
so I knew once I saw these different varieties that excited me, right?
Yeah.
But now, and then as farmers, there's this disease we all have. When it's just January and all the seed catalogs come in,
Yes.
uh, it's very easy. It's very easy to plant vegetables. It's the
Mm-hmm.
easiest, most enjoyable thing to do in springtime is to plant seed and get them in the ground. But the difficult part becomes managing and caring for those crops when things get really, really hot and humid. Um, so when we first started, we grew all these varieties, more, but we could not manage it all well. So we had to go back to what worked, and that was lettuce, greens, baby root crops, things that grow quickly are the crops that helped pay our bills, help us hire employees, and gave us time to do a lot more market research.
Mm-hmm.
Which, once you get those things in place, then you can easily bring in a lot of these other varieties and make those varieties make profits,
Mm-hmm.
which is a key thing. Every year I grow product that I know is not going to make a profit, but I limit that because I know I'm experimenting either with market trends, with sales, different growing methods, fertility. I'm always testing different crops to see, is this a viable product that we can offer for our farm. But there's the core, those core crops that keeps the farm breathing and thriving.
Mm-hmm.
And every year, I'm adding new that product line is growing, right? So the more systems I have, the more the crew gets trained, the better a soil becomes, the more tunnels we have, the more diverse offerings we can have, it just helps, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in a climate and you grow lettuce and then other farmers grow lettuce, there's these times when markets can be saturated, and I have seen that. You don't want to just grow head lettuce unless you have some kind of signed contract for just and you're not worried at all. But it's good to have diversity. Also, having diversity helps with crop rotation, soil health, keeps their customers excited about new varieties and new offerings.
Mm-hmm.
And to be frank, even though lettuce it's a very profitable crop, it's not the most nutrient dense crop, right?
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
it kind of it has some lack there. It's an easy vegetable to eat. Greens you can add. It's like this vehicle that
Yeah.
you can throw in your dandelion and your kale and your chard and your collards and other things, spinach that has more density. But that lettuce is a great vehicle to kind of hold all those products.
Yeah.
But we are very into we eat a lot of vegetables. Our daughter has had some health issues, and so we've changed our eating based on nutrient dense food.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that there are some limitations to lettuce, which
Yeah.
is why the more diverse and nutrient dense crops I can grow, it just makes us more excited. And
Yeah.
so a lot of this is starting with a basic practical crop that you can control, grow and sell and put money in your bank so you can grow your business,
Mm-hmm.
but then slowly adding these other things as you can really understand and grow and sell those other crops. So
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to grow. It can be another thing to actually sell. So all those pieces have to be
Yeah.
played and considered.
Yeah, because America is obsessed with lettuce. I mean, I think it's
Oh yeah,
$1.7 billion a year of
it's
lettuce is
insane.
eaten.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
So
just
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. It's a staple. It's a staple food. Anybody who thinks about eating healthy, the first thing that they're going to think about is I have to eat more salad.
Mm-hmm.
But as those people explore into health and other foods, they'll soon find themselves eating a lot more food than just lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
So lettuce is like the entry gate to kind of healthy eating.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's recognizable. It's easy to eat. the flavor is fairly mild, where a lot of these other stronger vegetables are going to be better for you, but it requires a different kind of cooking, preparing, acquired taste for things like maybe dandelion and chicories that has a little stronger, more of a bitter flavor. But it's going to be clearly a lot better for you. But yeah, lettuce by far, everybody knows it. It's a lot easier to sell a lot of it.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about the cultural practices for growing. So soil health is very important. It took you a bit to get those figured out. And now that now you can just consistently produce lettuce every single week.
So when we first started 10 years ago in 2009, there was not a single earthworm on our farm. And I think our salt content was like 3%. It was fertilized, Triple 15 fertilizer. I think they grew pumpkins on it for 15 years straight. Before that, the landowner scraped off all the topsoil, sold it off. So we were literally down to just hard, thick, useless clay is what it was. And so we knew right off that first year of searching for earthworms, because any farmer knows that is the number one thing that gets most farmers excited, is seeing earthworms in your soil. So, I was fortunate enough to find a mentor my first year. I paid I actually had to borrow money, and I paid a mentor to come down. I paid him $600 to come down for a day and a half and help me look at what I was doing, help me do some crop planning, just basic things for year one. And so, he's able to look at my soil and right at the gate, he's like, this is going to need a lot of help. So we knew what we had to do. And so we started looking for a lot of organic matter. We started with compostable leaves. We started doing soil test year one. So that was the one of the best pieces of advice he gave us. And then we started amending as we could afford it, and as we found different soil consultants. I've been through a lot of them. Not every soil consultant is good. And so it's important to have good people who understand what your goals are, what you're trying to get, and help you accomplish those goals without trying to sell you some kind of gimmick product. So each year our organic matter rose, went down from, I think, less than 1% to now some places on our farm has 10%.
Wow.
And those areas grow. Those are the areas that grow a lot. Like our yield really increases. And the way I do this, I know a lot of farmers just test once a year, but this year I think I've tested 5 times. What we find in our soil is that our heavy rainfalls really tends to erode our topsoil. Last year, I think we lost like 2 inches of topsoil. And so some of our plots, we had to completely start over in soil matter, our weed seed bank, eradicated. And there's some minerals that definitely got moved around some. And so this year, what we have found is there's certain numbers or there's certain things that we need to really dial in, and we'll do multiple testings trying to make sure that we're moving the needle in the right direction. So oftentimes, because depending on the soil consultant that I'm using or trying, what they recommend doesn't always work. What I found with taking multiple soil tests throughout the season, especially if you're in a rainy part of the country, is you can see is what you're doing with soil amendments and fertilizer and organic matter, is that moving the needle where you want it to go? I cannot stress the importance of doing multiple soil tests and paying somebody to help you dial that in. There's so many things we as farmers are trying to do, and I've just found that I don't mess around and I don't play around or act like or assume what I'm doing is going to work. Too many things are at stake. My time is better spent getting new sales, new leads, training new employees, getting systems on the farm than trying to guess how much boron or magnesium should I add to my soil.
Mm-hmm.
So don't
Too,
mess around with it.
if you make a wrong decision, you can really screw stuff up
Oh,
too.
really screw it up. And I've been guilty of that. Yeah. So whoever you hire, make sure they're credible. I have a few people that I recommend and others that I stay away from. But the real way to know what you're doing is to do multiple soil tests.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's talk a little bit in detail about the sales channels. You've done a lot with chefs. Talk to us a little bit how you're approaching them, how you've made those connections as you've built the business.
Yep. So oftentimes in the past, when I'm ready to sell, or I think I am, and I have product for samples, which I think is the best way to really get your foot in the door, is I found for us, we started this about 7-8 years ago in Memphis. And instead of going in the front door and asking the front desk or the receptionist, can you speak to the chef? I just go in the back door. You can generally find it. It's always unlocked as long as someone's in there. And I just go through the back. And a lot of times those guys in the kitchen they enjoy farmers coming in. You know, we're all various characters and so they enjoy having a non-cook and non-chef to talk to, right? Most of them are just, the chef world is a hard life. And most farmers are optimistic about the sale. That's why they're in there. And so they enjoy seeing farmers. And so I just found go in the back door, talk it up with the cooks, get to know their name, and ask for the guy who buys produce, whether it be the executive chef or the sous chef, whoever it is. Some chef, it'll be maybe even a line cook who's just in charge of making sure that these top 20 products never run out. So find out who it is and show them what you got, what you're trying to sell. And I've just found that getting that relationship of finding them out about their life first, maybe find out if they have a family, find out, how many hours they've worked this week, empathize with the job that they have, has gone a long ways for me. Having said that, I'm not a fan of selling to chefs because we have found that our different chef market is fairly unreliable. Because the chefs that I go after are more high end. So these are more event restaurants, anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, things like that. It's a fairly unstable market for us. So I'm not big fans, but I have had some very positive experiences, and I have some really good friends who gave me leads for really, really great clients.
Yeah.
But that's how I approach that.
Yeah. So you focus more on the grocery store, and talk to us about, because that's a lot more consistent.
Yeah. So this is how I do this is when I first got started, I had lost a really big client, and I was in a meeting with somebody in the food space in Memphis, and it was at this kind of boutique, privately owned grocery store, and I was sitting on probably 100 pounds of salad mix that I needed to move and other greens. And so I kind of looked over, and I could tell that he had some like local flours and local bread and cornmeal. And then where I was sitting at, I saw that there was some, salad mix from California. I'm like, you know what? I wonder if he would buy salad mix from us. And so I asked the owner, because he was there, and he said, sure, just make sure it's in the clamshell and barcode and all these things. And so that week, because I was hungry and desperate to move this product, we made it happen within a few days, and bam, we had product, he bought it. And that customer, we can almost predict how much they'll buy every single week.
Wow.
It's rarely ever changes. It's almost a standing order. So from then, I've just, I'll try and find private, lead grocery store, because they're the easiest. They don't require a gap. They're just an easier place to get into. I just acquired a large it's a grocery store chain in our area. It's like a 5-state radius. They have 100 locations. So I just acquired that contract. It took me about a year. It just took me time to find the person who could pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's just going to the store, find out who their regional manager is, and then you got to find, because those guys are very, very busy. And I find, we did some emailing, but I needed to have that face-to-face meeting. I'm very, very busy myself, and I was going to have to travel almost to another state to meet him.
Wow.
But so it took me about 6 months to nail down a meeting time with the regional purchaser manager.
Yeah.
But I got that meeting. Love what we're doing. You bring product, you have pictures, you're showing the value that you can add to them. And I just talked about, hey, I have a 2-week guarantee. If it goes bad in your grocery store, I will replace it for free.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good following in West Tennessee on social media. In some cases we have a bigger following than they do, right? So you can add that value of, like, hey, we'll help promote you guys.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of ways that if you're a small farmer, you can approach these people. It's not so. Here's the way I look at sales: is trying to find how can you add value to your customer, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be a homemaker with more nutrient-dense vegetables, knowing where the farmer is, or in the case of a wholesale client, can you add flavor? Can you be easy to work with? Can you add a higher quality product that will not go bad, right? So trying to find ways, how can you add value to your client? Because if you think about it, when you're going to a sale, you're wanting to get money from them. You want them to buy. You want a check each week from that client. Mm-hmm. And so I find that it's an easier transaction if you can come to the table with value.
Mm-hmm.
So once we did that, they gave me these list requirements: was very intensive $2 million liability insurance, professional looking labels. Like, he went, hey, it's got to look very similar to what I'm getting from California, or they will not buy it. Oh, so wow. I have a black and white label. Actually, I'll just show you what I have now. For a long time, which they did not like, and most small scale farmers are using a black and white label. Yep. We had to get this designed.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of a new label. There, yep. It's got the barcode, the product. It's not perfect. It's not what we like, but they like that there was color. It was a glossy label. Is each product line has its own color branded. So we have 10 different herbs. Every herb is a different color. Right, we have 7 microgreens. Every microgreen has a different color, and that is what California is providing. And so they asked us to compete with the label to California. So we did that. We got all the individual barcodes. We had all the information. It was a good bit of paperwork. And about a year later, we actually last week was our first delivery to 4 stores. And there's 8 more that if this goes well for the next few weeks, we can have the other 8. And then it depends how far we want to drive. There's 100 stores available.
Wow.
In a 5-state radius, which we're not interested in driving that far. We don't need that many customers at this point. But that's kind of the process that I took. And so, a lot of this stuff just takes time. But since we had worked with 4 grocery stores consistently for about a year or 2, we were confident that we could, again, these guys want consistency. You can't just have product one week and be out for 4 every single week, and I told, having references really helps. So if there's a big client you want, getting smaller clients, taking care of those people, being consistent with communication, with sales, with quality, because word spreads. So since we already had 4 grocery stores, we told him who they were. I'm sure he did his background check on us. He may even call them, who knows? And so that, and also it helped us, like, hey, we were confident we can do this kind of client. It makes money. It's actually the easiest customer we have because it's fewer items and it's bulk. And so you can get different employees part-time to help package clamshells. You have a timer, like, it's, 40 clamshells in 5 minutes. It's kind of like a benchmark that we try to have.
That's a good benchmark to know.
For. Yeah. So it's like, that's easy, where if you're, there's some product, it's more difficult to harvest and package fast, right? Because it's more complex. With clamshell, it's just, you're doing it, you're weighing it, you're within a half ounce or more, and it's good enough, right?
Yeah.
Get the labels on. This is stuff that my children can do easily.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I feel like this is an opportunity that more farmers need to take advantage of. And if you're willing to do the work and have consistent production, they're paying in clamshells, they're paying $10 a pound is what they're paying. Okay. And I'm adding on, it's a quarter pound per clamshell. We charge $2.85. There's about 35 cents for packaging and labels and just whatever labor is in there. So it's not bad for that kind of wholesale. Mind you, yes, there is more time involved, but it's an easy client to fill.
Yeah.
Where farmers market, I mean, there's packing, there's driving to the farmers market, there's being there. I mean, there's a lot of time invested at a farmers market. And so you have to do a lot more sales. With the grocery store, I can hire any delivery driver who can follow directions, be polite, get in, drop it off, and leave.
Very cool.
So I've just found for us the last 3 years, it's been our favorite, and we would like to be the majority of our sales to grocery stores now.
Cool. All right, and to wrap up a little bit, let's talk about a few of the students that you've had over the years, because you do a lot of consulting and teaching.
Yep.
You have the master class. So let's talk about a few of the students that have come through there.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had a number of them, and I think what people are looking for is people who kind of have gone through the course usually have a problem, right? Number one problem is probably consistency. Everyone knows if they had lettuce in the peak summertime or peak winter when no one else has it, they could destroy it. And so that's usually when people buy this course, there is a very specific problem that they're trying to solve. And so, what we've done is we've just put all these small details in this course that really details, our sales outlets, all the different packaging. And then we're going through all these different methods in the hardest time of the year, in the summer. So we filmed, set this thing up in the summertime when it's really hard, so they can see what does it look like to have whatever lettuce in July and August when it's just humidity and heat is just punishing everybody.
Because how hot do you guys get?
I mean, our heat index is consistently above 100, but mind you, we have very high humidity. So every morning, my humidity gauge is 100% in the morning time, and then it slowly burns off. But it's just the humidity is what kills lettuce. Lettuce can take heat. In California, it's pretty hot, but it's dry. And so the challenge with lettuce is humidity. So a lot of people who buy this course, we have people all over the world, but the majority are in those really hot, humid climates where they're just struggling with consistent humidity. A really good grower about 4 hours away, Darren Hampton, done a lot of consulting. He's gone through the course. And I've talked to other people who go to his farmer's market, and they're, what they've told me is, man, Darren is just crushing it. Just piling it high. And, he started brand new 2 years ago. Yeah. And so I think seeing him really from 0 to 60 has been pretty fun. Another guy in Southern Louisiana, Charles Burks, I think is his last name. And same thing, in a very challenging environment, very hot, very humid, and, a very similar challenging sales outlet, I would say, to what I have. Rural and just really doing well. So selling on to CSA, really is able to have lettuce, which, his customers really, really appreciate. Another farmer, Carrie out in Oklahoma with Looney Farms, and she's been a lot of fun to watch because that climate is just
brutal,
rough. It is a tough Probably, I would say, the harshest and toughest climate that I know of in America to grow in.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, the winds.
Customer wise,
Yeah.
the winds, the heat, not only the heat, but you can go from heat to cold just in a short of like, they do not have a spring or a fall. It's either summer or it's winter. And
Yeah.
that is it's almost impossible to grow in. So, but she's done an incredible job managing a lot of these difficult situations and trying to put in some of these systems that I've even talked about here to really mitigate a lot of her risk. I mean, she's risking a lot. And yeah, so I think those three people really stand out. There's a lot of great growers out there doing just fabulous work. Um, any grower who is attempting to grow in this day and age is I really feels like all these growers deserve to be celebrated. Um,
Mhm.
we're in in so much of in the face of big ag, and our summers becoming more hotter and wetter, and our winters colder. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
both extremes. It's not our winters are not getting warmer; they're getting colder, and they're
Yeah.
colder for a lot longer period of time. So the weather extremes are just growing to where, I mean, I think we may have had 2 weeks of fall, and it just went from 100 degrees in the end of September to boom, end of really the end of October. It was cold, rainy, wet,
Yeah.
very unusual. All these systems that I really talk about in this class helps um, hedge your bets. Everything that you're investing in, the high risk, it helps mitigate a lot of these risks. And ultimately, the goal with this class is to help farmers succeed and thrive in whatever challenging environment or sales environment they're at.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I know for me, 10 years ago, I invested a lot of money in someone helping me get started, and it saved 5 years off of my farming career.
Mhm.
You know, and so I recommend anybody watching this who is starting out or want to get in it and they don't know how or what they should do, finding a mentor or some kind of thing that can help you, give you some kind of roadmap to get you where you want to go. Because everybody wants to go somewhere.
Mhm.
Everybody wants something. They have life goals, they have dreams, they have ambitions. Maybe you hate your job with a passion, or you're old and retired and you want something a legacy to hand down to your kids. Everybody wants something. And to help us all get there, the more we can share and draw from the experience from others is going to make us and all you guys get to your goals and your dreams a lot faster, and can save you thousands of dollars, headaches, tears, and again, ultimately, this is about achieving whatever goals and dreams you have. And yeah, so hopefully this past hour of me rambling, I have a lot to say in a short amount of time. So, anyways, yeah, that's kind of that's my spiel.
All right, and you do have some free a free class for them too, mini class that they can go download too. So we'll put that
Yes.
information below that they can
Yep.
go grab your free mini
Yep.
class, which goes over
Yep.
the biggest challenges that farmers have. It goes over transplanting lettuce and getting that strong start. It goes over the planning in a lot more detail, and it goes over your
Yep.
marketing and kind of through
Yes.
every single channel. So that's a great mini course, and they can
Yes.
just I'll put
Yes.
it below so they can go grab that.
That's great. That's great. It's awesome.
And
Yep.
Ray, if you have one tip that you would give to, let's say, the farmers watching this, what would that be?
I would say find a mentor.
Hmm.
You find somebody that resonates with you. Everybody is different. Everybody's dreams are different, but find a mentor. Find somebody that can help guide and steer you in the right direction. Someone who understands your goals and who can help save you grief.
Hmm.
So I don't think there's enough farmers, beginning farmers especially, that are doing this on their own without any help. And I just see too much unnecessary struggle going on. So I would say find a mentor, do whatever you have to do to get that person on the speed dial, and that will be the best time, money, resources, whatever that you ever invested. Better than any seed soil test, because that mentor will help you, really kind of help you guide your way through this pretty challenging occupation.
Absolutely. All right, Ray. Well, we thank you for your time this morning. It's been awesome. Yeah, we'll let you know when it airs.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Bye, everybody.